Hello there. Today I'm going to give you a little tutorial on how to make these very cute wrappers for Ferrero Rocher chocolates. You can see down inside there's a gold bit of it, and they're very sweet, very easy to make, and turn a simple little chocky, even though they look rather gorgeous on their own, into something that you could perhaps pop on a work colleague's desk as a little gift, where you don't want to spend an absolute fortune or you've got thousands of people working in your office. These would be really neat. Wonderful for hanging on your Christmas tree for those unexpected little tackers that come along at Christmas time, and you can just pull them off and hand them a chocky that doesn't look just like you've opened a box in haste. I've made these from various papers. This was Kaiser Craft 6x6 pad and a little commercial sticker on the front. This one was about 220 GSM cardstock, and just using some dies and things. What else have we got? We've got this one, which was again a little commercial sticker, but this is made from a much lighter weight paper, probably about the same as copy paper. This one was from a scrap of acrylic paint and alcohol paper that I'd made, and just a little scrap left, and so that's turned into a nice little gift wrap chocky. This one was from Nina Solar White, about 200 GSM, and I've just turned that into a little glamour puss with a beaded dangle. This one I used, as I'm always determined to do, is to use up any scraps of recycled paper, and I had a little piece left that was 2 pages glued together that I like to use because it's firmer than the single pages, and turned that into a little one with a raffia tie, and I quite like that little one. It's rather sweet. So book pages works well depending on the weight. And I've also made a heap from a children's book, which were really sweet, that I popped into my grandson's birthday gift box that I've just posted off recently. So having introduced you to the concept, I will get started. All you need to make these are a pair of scissors, a couple of punches depending on sort of what you want to do, how you want to decorate them, the chocolates obviously, an envelope punch board, and a scoreboard or ruler and a scoring stylus or Teflon bone folder, something like that. You just need to be able to score. It's much easier on a scoring board because there's a few little scores to make. And anything you've got lying around that you can use to embellish, depending on what you're making them for. Ties, wraps, ribbons. So I found the thinner ones were much easier to get the nice shape. The ribbon works perfectly well, especially if it's fairly soft. Something like seam binding would be perfect. And I also used a few of these little adhesive low profile dots and some craft glue. And that's about it. I'll get cracking and I'll see you in a minute. Here I am, all ready to go. While I was cutting out the cardstock for this one that I'm going to demonstrate with, and I think I forgot to say this idea came from a YouTuber called the Paper Pixie, and I'll put her link below. She does a wonderful tutorial. It'll probably be a lot clearer than mine. It's just I wanted to explore it a little more. And I'll put the link below to her YouTube, and thank her and whoever she obtained the pattern from. I think she adjusted a little bit so that it fitted these chocolates perfectly, and it does. And while I was getting ready to make this, I suddenly thought these would be perfect little team colour gifts to hand out at the end of your team events or that sort of thing. So, or as little place markers at a dinner. So I've made a couple of those as well to add to my collection. Now let's get started. You need a piece of card of whatever weight. This is 200 GSM, and it's probably at the upper limit of what will go comfortably through the envelope punch board. You can use all sorts of other things, as I said, right down to copyweight paper and probably vellum lighter ones. Something with a little bit of body is going to work out better. And I made several with children's book paper, as long as it's a decent weight and will hold the folds nicely. That's about it. To make the little embellishments that I've put on the front of these, and by the way, I tied these with a little bit of leather strip that I had in the right, some white and some yellow, just to give it a more masculine look. These are your ones I've made, just contrasting colours. The first punch is a 1 inch circle and a 3/4 inch circle on top. And this one's just got a little diamante flower adhered onto it with matte medium, just to give it some stickability. And I've also used little decorative punches and dies to make the other embellishments. For the bottom of the box you need a circle that's 1 1/4 or thereabouts to fit on the bottom, just to tidy it up. Not essential, but it does finish it off nicely. You need something to tie it with. You need the chocolate, obviously, because now's when you put them in. And the piece of cardstock measures 4 inches high by 5.5 inches wide. And that's all you need. And all of my pieces have come from scrap. It's just out of my scrap bin, so they're using up little pieces. To start with the scoring, first of all, we turn it to the top, and this is something to think about if you're using directional paper that's got a direction or text perhaps that you want to flow around the box. Make sure you note which is your top edge and put that up against this side. The first score we make right across the length of the box is at 1 1/8 inches, which is there, and the second score is at 3 inches. So that differentiates. The bottom of the box is 1 inch deep and the top is 1 1/8 deep. So you know which, keep your top where you know it is. So I'll put that up against there, and now the rest of these scores are just down the length of the box. And we make two. We make the first ones at 1 inch space, so we start at 1 and we go all the way down at 1 inch, at 2 inch, at 3 inch, at 4 inch, and at 5 inch. So that's how easy it is, and you'll note that that gives us a little 1/2 inch tab at the right hand side. Now to make the little star folds at the top, all we need to do is start at 1/2 inch and score down to this 1 1/8 score line. Where they intersect is where you stop. So 1/2 inch down to the score line, 1 1/2, 2 1/2, 3 1/2, and 4 1/2. And that's it. I don't know if you can see, maybe on that side, the score lines. The top is the one with the multitude of score lines, and the bottom is the one with the 5 squares. Get rid of that. Now all we have to do is quickly finger press those along each of those major score lines. Don't worry about the little ones at the moment, the little half ones at the top, don't worry about them. We'll get to them in a minute. There we are, that's all folded roughly. It doesn't need to be any tighter than that. You don't need to burnish with the bone folder or do anything to it. Now I like to hold mine this way so that this is the top of the box with the little folds, and I fold in that 1/2 inch tab and slide it under the envelope punch board and mark it at 1 1/8. So it's the same as that score line, which was at 1 1/8. The top of this card goes at 1 1/8 on your envelope punch board, and then punch it. You can see that's punched across the tab. I was thinking if you didn't have an envelope punch board, you could use, this is a heart punch, but pretend that's a small sort of 1/2 inch circle punch. You could pop it and punch them out like that if you wanted to, if you didn't have an envelope punch board. Well, this is a 3/4, let me just see. As long as you don't go too close to the previous cut, you could punch it out quite easily with that. So, just an alternative if you haven't got the envelope punch board handy. This is, as I said, close to the limit on the weight of cardstock that I can double through the tromper on the punch board. It does go, but it needs a bit of a push. Now when you've finished all the 1 inch folds, you're left with this little piece at the end, and it doesn't matter which end you start with, but this is on the inch fold. We do need to cut that piece out too, so keeping it up that way, put it in at 1, and then just cut that final single layer, and that's what we end up with. This end, which is your tab end, isn't cut away, and that makes it a little stronger. You may need to clean out, I've found with some of mine, because they're double pieces and they're thick, sometimes they catch up in there and you do need to pull them out afterwards. But those ones came out alright. Now we've got that all cut out, I just like to finger press that down once more just to emphasise, because this is where the cord is going to go through. And now we can go along and just make little valley folds of those little scores that we put in between the main scores. Just give it a little tweak. It's not absolutely essential, but it does help, especially with the thick paper, to make it a little easier to put together. We've got our little circle for the bottom, and now all we need to do is to use our scissors and trim out just that little tab. We're on the little tab at the end now, on the right hand end, and you can see at the top we just need to miter that corner a tiny bit, and then come down to where the bottom score line, that inch score line at the bottom, and just to the top of that miter it into where those lines intersect. Then come to the bottom and just inside again, take a tiny slither off and cut up to that intersection, so that we end up with the bottom flap and the little side flap. And that's all we need to do to that. But what we need to do to this is cut up to that intersection line, up each of those score lines. So there's just 4 of those to trim up into, and I go just across that score line to make sure that those pieces can fold without hindrance. And that's it, your box is done. All we need to do now is take our little tab, the right side of our tab, and I use wet glue for this. Tape's a little bit of a sudden grab. I'd like to use wet glue, let me say. Whether I'm going to be allowed to or not. And just put, not too much, but a nice cover into all the corners, and then link it up to the other side, making sure that you press it in firmly, particularly in behind this little isthmus here. Make sure that's pressed down. Just go up to the score line, you don't want to go across it, it'll make folding it a bit chunky. And once you've got it firmly together, you can then sort of squidge it flat to make sure that you get any excess glue and that it's all fully adhered, taking care not to crush this part, because you want that to stay. Now that bit with the fold is your back piece, so just flip all of these. This is the bottom of the box now going into position. So this little back piece, fold that in, and with your wet glue, just apply a nice little drizzle over most of it. Don't be too fussed. We just want these to grab together. Now keeping it reasonably shaped, you've got the bottom piece there, the first piece, and then just flip these across. They won't sort of want to stick terribly well at first, but we can beat them into submission in a minute. What you do need to do at this stage and fairly quickly is to make sure you've got that into a nice sort of pentagon shape at the bottom. Then you can put another little drizzle of adhesive and pop over that 1 1/8 circle, 1 1/8, 1 1/4 inch circle that you've cut out previously, and that just holds the bottom nicely. Now I like to use my nearly empty glue stick because it fits down in there perfectly, and give it a good push. But if you haven't got anything else, you can use the end of a paintbrush or a pen, anything that will just allow you to put a little bit of direct pressure on the bottom. I certainly can't get my fat fingers down in there. Just enough for the adhesive to grab and for it to stand shape. Once it's there, we can just make sure that we've trained those little folds where we want them to go. If you're going to add any glitter, if you've got to do the vacuuming, it might be best not to, but if you're... I'm quite keen to use this up because I absolutely never use them. Put something in the bottom if you want to, there's certainly no need. And pop in your little chocolate. You can see how beautifully she designed it so that they fit perfectly. And now the little piece that's got the fold, the little bit at the back, that is your back pointy star, which makes this bit, this little flat bit here, your front. So that is where you're going to tie the knot or the bow of your piece of cord. So just wrap that round that little narrow piece. If any of you have made Christmas bon or party bonbons with the envelope punch board, you'll be very familiar with these processes. Just going to quickly tie that and sort of pounce it down so the star opens up. And usually for these ones, the more girly ones, I put a bow. That one's better. And just trim those off to a little bit of a perky end. And you know, you could put beads or whatever on if you wanted to go the whole hog, but we don't really need to. And that flat piece where the knot of the bow is, I'll just add my little embellishment. I like to put a little bit of glue on the sticky dot just to make sure. You don't really need to use sticky dots if you haven't got them or you don't want to, but I like the little bit of dimension that it gives, and the little bit of adhesive just means that you can manipulate it slightly more than if you leave it without. So there we go. Here's my, that one just used a little star. That one has a woohoo sticker. That one has a crystal. That one has a heart. Another little sticker. A little love message. Commercial sticker. Little butterfly. Another sticker. You can see I used these gold and silver ones, elastic cord, and I found that was absolutely perfect. And these are the ones that I've put initials on, and these are the two teamy ones. I've tried to make them look a bit more masculine. So there we go, a little bit of fun. The good thing, once they're wrapped, is everybody stops trying to eat them. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.